نشكر الأستاذ إبراهيم على الحديث الخيار. حقيقة يعني ما طرحوه المتحدثين بخلينا نفكر يعني بشكل جديد في علاقتنا بالسلطة. يعني بالإضافة إلى كده يفترض نطرح سؤال أنه الشيء حصل في دارفور بيمثل يعني جزء من رؤيتنا نحن كمواطنين عاديين داخل دولة محكومة بالنظام الدكتاتوري. يعني سؤال السلطة والمواطن نحن نفترض نطرحه ونعيد ترجمته بشكل جديد. يعني المسألة دي ما فيها تقدير بالنسبة لوضعنا نحن كمواطنين، لكن يفترض نبحث في علاقة السلطة بالإنسان. يعني السلطة حتى في النظام الديمقراطي أحياناً ما بتستجيب لصوت الإنسان. يعني في دول كبرى شنت حروب عالمية كبرى بدون ما تستشير الإنسان وهي دول ديمقراطية. والإنقاذ ارتكبت جرم كبير في حرب دارفور كبار النوبة والانقسامة، وهذا الشكل من العنف والقتل لا يمثلنا نحن كسودانيين. بيمثل السلطة ونحن محتاجين نفس الحيلة. يعني فعلا يعني ما طرحوه المتحدثين الضحية أحيانا ما تقدر تميز ما بين فعل السلطة وما بين الإنسان العادي. عشان نفك التشابه ده نحن محتاجين نقرب أكثر من أهل دارفور ونصل أهل دارفور ونتفاعل معهم بشكل حقيقي من خلال الدور الشعبي، ومن خلال ده نقدر نصنع المصالحة الاجتماعية. لو ما حصلت مصالحة اجتماعية وصلح اجتماعي الحل السياسي ما بيؤدي يعني لفعل جذري لحل الإشكالية. نحن محتاجين يعني نتعامل بشكل إنساني جديد بوعي جديد، ونحس أنه كلنا مواطنين، أنه نحن بنحس ببعض مع بعض ونتفاعل يعني بشكل إيجابي باتجاه إجلاء اعتقادات السلطة، وبالضرورة أن نصل السلطة من المواطن. يعني أنا محكوم طبعا الحديث حديث سر، لكن أنا حقيقة محكوم بزمن والمسرح يعني ضاغطنا بزمن. فأنا حابب تعقيب للأستاذة نعمات أحمداي، هي رئيسة منظمة مجموعة عمل نساء دارفور، يعني في كلمة قصيرة تعقب على الندوة ورؤيتها يعني للشأن الدارفوري في 10 دقائق. تفضل أستاذة نعمات.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I can hear you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Great. Well, I'm very delighted to be with you here today, and with the Sudanese Association and the Darfur community in California organizing this kind of gatherings to speak about the situation in Darfur. I think time is right for this kind of conversation, because without acknowledging and recognizing, admitting and talking about it, we cannot move forward, and Sudan cannot move forward. And I think I cannot agree with you more that this is at times now or never. And I think we as Sudanese, we should not let this time goes by without seizing this opportunity to establish a base for justice and transformation of our country, the Sudan that we love. If our host here can allow me, I have a short video that I wanted to share with you, and then I will be speaking in 1 minute to conclude what I'm trying to say as a response to the conversation that was shared by my colleagues here. So I will stop and I will let our technicians there turn the video on. And if you can please dim the lights so that people can watch it, and then I will promise you to speak in 1 minute.
Violence and hardship are an almost daily ritual for the people of Darfur.
Those forced from their villages fled over the border to Chad or the makeshift camps within Darfur itself.
Hundreds of thousands of people live in refugee camps across the region. Women and girls are common targets, and there's no sign of that changing.
Over 4,000 villages will be burned down, erased from the earth.
The Janjaweed came and burned them all alive, as well as sold children to the fire.
5 different men raped me.
Genocide has ravaged Sudan. Thousands have been murdered. And women and girls face some of the most widespread and systematic sexual violence the modern world has seen. To understand their story, we must first understand where it begins. Sudan is the largest country in Africa, and Darfur, an area about the size of France, lies in the western region of the country. In 2003, after decades of neglect, drought, and oppression, 2 groups that represented agrarian farmers mounted a rebellion against Sudan's president, Omar al-Bashir. President Bashir's response? Devastating assault on the civilian population of ethnic groups identified with the rebels. Men, women, and children. To assist in their scorched earth campaign, the Sudanese government armed and trained a militia known as the Janjaweed. Working together, the Sudanese government and the Janjaweed wiped out entire villages, destroyed food and water supplies, and systematically murdered, tortured, and raped civilians. Over 2.5 million people have fled their homes and now live in dangerous camps where they are still attacked.
Raping, killing, burning, and the world is watching. In Darfur, rape being used as a weapon of war.
Multiple rapes to the same woman. Some of them died out of rape.
Five different men, they attacked me, they raped me, and they cut me in different parts of my body with a knife, and they burned cigarette in my body. The rape is very, very difficult for me. The militia attacked a school of girls in North Darfur. They raped 40 girls with their teachers. They were bleeding. I saw them. They were tortured. Why they raped them? They are children. They were children. Just children.
Before this crisis in Darfur started and genocide started, women were well respected and were more secure, but this is no longer the case. Right now, women turn from most secure in our society to the most vulnerable.
In traditional Darfuri society, women hold a place of honor in the family and adhere to a strict code of devotion and chastity.
In my family, in my small family, the top decision maker or my eldest aunt is not my father even.
The women in Darfur are completely 100% Muslims, and so they are very religious. And chastity was a value, big value in Darfur.
When someone rapes a woman, they rape her entire tribe. It's considered, in the traditional sense, to be the deepest affront. By raping a woman in front of her male relatives, it ensures the destruction of that family's, the fabric of that family.
This is not by accident. Rape is sponsored, sanctioned, and condoned by the Sudanese government. As part of a systematic campaign, Sudanese government forces and the Janjaweed use sexual violence as a tool of intimidation and terror. Tragically but predictably, sexual violence is now endemic in Darfur. Years of continued insecurity have led to an increase in opportunistic rape by a multitude of actors, all of whom operate with total impunity.
When they step out from the camps looking for water or firewood, they experience the act of risking their life to be raped again and again.
Before fleeing to the US, Niamat Ahmadi worked to help rape victims and to change the stigma of shame and silence associated with rape. Now she continues her work in America as an advocate, working with other Sudanese women.
We mobilize ourselves as a group of women to come together and form as a group that can provide help, especially to the rape victim. There's so many girls being left behind because of the shame.
There are very strong traditional beliefs that prevent women from reintegrating into society once it has become known that they have been raped.
So you have to approach the family, the male members, family or the eldest women in the family to talk to them that this is not their choice and it's the act that happened by force.
Despite the violence, suffering, and stigma Darfuri women have endured, they are not helpless.
There are so many stories of how women defend themselves and how they give courage to their men to defend them.
What's great about the Sudanese human rights community is that there is a robust women's movement and a group of very, very dedicated people who work at great risk to themselves.
The work that I'm doing put me in a great risk, and the Sudanese government don't want to work to stop this genocide.
Because of Niamat's work, the Sudanese government made repeated attempts to kill her.
sometimes I can fear for my own life, for my own safety. For me, to die is not different than those people who die. But when I remember those who still imprisoned in the IDPs camps and attacked day and night, I dedicate my life to Darfur women.
As long as there are people who are alive still, and their lives are taken away, we can still reach them.
Let us promise ourselves and hold ourselves back that still there's something we can do to save others, to give hope and to give life to others. We need to hear the voices of women around the world. Any woman, if she have heard about any suffering of another woman, she feels that suffering and she feels the anger. It's good for her to transfer that anger into action.
We can make a difference. Use your voice to end the suffering.
This is very painful, I know, to most of you without warning. But I also would like always to bring people who are not lucky like us to be here with us, so that we can carry their life with us, as a commitment that I made when I was leaving the Sudan, that I will continue to speak for them and bring the voices of women, particularly women who have suffered the most, to be heard in a global stage. And that's exactly what we were doing. I'm going to be very brief about hearing to my brothers here speaking and also our audience, and I thank our leaders here in the association who have eloquently spoke about how they will maintain the people of Sudan and each other through the love that is making them lose the sense of humanity and committing genocide. Now, I think there is a huge opportunity in Sudan now. I know the challenges are a lot, and there's tremendous challenges, but there are opportunities too. And if we can work together, we can turn those challenges into opportunities. At the national level now, we have an interim government that has only 3 years, not without challenges. The country is economically completely ripped out by these giants who consider themselves as a government. Unfortunately, they stole the money, they enriched themselves, they use corruption, but also they use the overwhelming majority of the country's resources to buy weapons and kill the country's population, which is really sad and painful, while other Sudanese in other regions are starving, in search of a piece of bread. So millions of people are out of their homes. Many young people do not go to school. Many people graduate and cannot work in their own homeland. So the challenges are a lot. But I think many of us who are here in the United States, as well as in Europe and other countries like Australia, we are lucky enough, and we have to do something, and we must do something. And what we can do, we articulated when Bashir was removed, and there was a talk about creating the interim government. Darfur Women Action Group, an organization, has hosted a group of experts who are have expertise on international justice, international human rights law, humanitarian laws, and people who work in situations like Rwanda, former Yugoslavia, and other crisis situations in a post-conflict, so that we can borrow from their experience. And we also brought in the background information about our issues in Sudan. So we started by, we developed a strategic framework that we actually delivered a copy of it to the Prime Minister and the members of his cabinet, including also the Sovereign Council, and we asked them. And I'm going to summarize, I'm sorry, because it's taking a long time and people have been waiting here as we started late, and also some people took so much time, more than what they were given. But we started by first, the inter-government must approach the issue of Sudan within the context of the historical grievances. This is including recognizing and acknowledging the harm that has been done, like the genocide in Darfur, the crisis in Blue Mountain, Blue Nile, Eastern Sudan, and there are so many layers of grievances. And this government, the regime in Khartoum, Bashir's regime, has not let any region without touching them and create grievances. In Eastern Sudan, they are not in peace, they are not in war, but people die out of preventable diseases. As of today, they ignited timely crisis. In far north, the government is building dams in the interest of foreign governments, while the people of the northern Sudan are losing their land, and when they spoke, they shot them. The same way that if they continue to protest, they would have been killed just the same as the people of Darfur. Inside the Khartoum, people, their homes are demolished. When the government look at an area and they like it, they want to invest in it, they demolish it and creating some sort of a lie. So there are so many grievances. So we decided that the interim government must start with addressing the historical and the current grievances in Sudan. That is the best approach. Number two, establishing a frank dialogue among the Sudanese divided population so that people can talk about their issues and be able to think together and build a plan toward how we can transform Sudan. We spoke about also creating a genuine peace process that accommodate and include the historically marginalized Sudanese, including those who have been forced to carry arms to fight for their rights. Women participation. If you can see from Darfur, South Kordofan, and even before in South Sudan, and the recent revolution, women have been in the forefront of the revolution, demanding change, not only demanding, but working hand in hand and doing everything to help to bring that change. When the negotiation came between the interim government and the military council, women were in the back seat. And even right now, they appointed some women in the cabinet minister, but that's not enough. I think Sudanese women can change the face of Sudan, and we recommended that participation of women should be at least 50%, and 30% the minimum. Because women are qualified, but also they have the right to be in the table, not to be a value added, to be part and parcel of the table. We also spoke about, after creating a genuine peace process, creating an enabling environment for the safety, return, and the refugees and internally displaced people, so that people want to go home and be able to live in peace without being attacked. Withdrawing the militias and the government forces out of the areas inhabited by civilians, like the rapid support force should not be there. Army should be out there in the border of Sudan, protecting the border of Sudan and leaving the protection of the community to the police, and also community policing is one of the #1 priorities supposed to be during this interim government, because these are the people from the communities, they cannot attack their communities. And we recommend criminal accountability and financial accountability. Criminal accountability, the crimes of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity that has been committed against the people of Darfur, but also the crimes that has been committed throughout the protest and the revolution. And that the #1 is sending those who are wanted to the ICC, but that's not the end of the story. There's a lot more crimes and grievances that has been committed. Also creating, reforming institutions, and creating an independent, capable judicial system that can try the remaining criminals in Sudan who have committed crimes in Darfur and in any single area of Sudan, so that the Sudanese people can clear their heart and start living together. Financial accountability, and people ask us why that's important. It is as equal as criminal accountability. Why? Because the deep state, the ACP government, and the military government, they accumulated money. If they have that money, they will continue to destabilize Sudan, and they will not let the interim government succeed. But if they can track that money, restore it, freeze it, bring it back, we need it in Sudan right now. From the government, people need it in all the aspects of their lives. So that's very important. And we, as the United Nations and countries like the United States, if they're asking them to give give us debt, we accumulated debt for years. Why not asking them to come and help us track that when any transaction in the world goes through New York? So, and this is not an exception. It has been done in the post-Saddam Hussein era, and it can be done in Sudan. And that is where even those who are right now in the Supreme Council, like Al-Qur'an Committee, if they don't have money, they can buy loyalty, and then they can just be very related. So that's very, very, very important. I think all of you have to focus on asking of all of those demands, and also then inviting governments, international institutions to come and aid the Sudan in stabilizing the Sudan, sustaining peace, accountability, and all of these processes. We are not in isolation of the world. Sudan is a member of the United Nations, and we are a member of the international community. So inviting the international community is not something strange, as people are raising concern about the Prime Minister appeal for the United Nations to support Sudan. That's not something strange. In any country that goes through a genocide, it cannot be stabilized standing alone without the help from the international community. And that's just not true. And it's smart, I think. And we all have to support that, but also we have to educate our people on the ground so that they can understand. So, with that being said, I will try to conclude here. We have the strategic framework. I can send you the link to. Anyone can download it in Arabic or English. And our organization is DarforWomenAction.org, DarforWomenAction.org. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So, and the strategic framework is under press releases, if you want to download it in English and Arabic. So, I would like to thank the people of that Sudanese community in North California, and each one of you contributed to making this possible. I would also like to thank our American friends who have never abandoned us, people like Esther. We met a long time ago and continue to fight. Our lawyers here, and the sister there who has been working with the community here. Without the support from these people, we would not have made it this far, and we must appreciate that. I also wanted to mention that as a Women Action Group, we do advocacy. We influence the U.S. foreign policy towards Sudan to the better, the United Nations, the European Union, and we do also have a small operation on the ground in Dharfur. And out there we have a T-shirt that says Dharfur needs you. We sell them for $20. That instead of just asking for donation, so that we can use the $20 to send a child to school in the internally displaced camp in Sudan. So please make sure you people share it before you leave from here. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with all of you.
يا شكرا للمعلومات. الفيديو شفناه يعني فيديو مؤثر ومؤلم، وطبعا النظام حاول انه يكسر المرأة الدارفورية من خلال القصة، لكن انا مفتكر ان المرأة الدارفورية ما زالت قوية. يعني المعرض شاهدتوه أقامته امرأة واحدة وحملت، وهي من دارفور، ومرت بكل المأساة بتاعت أهل دارفور، وشردت وكانت عايشة في المعسكرات وفقدت ولد، ومرت بالسجون لحد ما وصلت أمريكا، لكن كل ما مرت به ما كسرها. عملت المعرض، وهذا المعرض حتى المنظمات لا تستطيع أن تقيم معرض بهذا المستوى. التحية للمرأة الدارفورية. أنا أختم بصدام، وهو شاب يعني برضه مر بالمأساة وهجر من قريته وهرب قريته وطلع الجبل، وبعد ذلك انتهى في المعسكرات. نسمع من صدام.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الشهداء الكرام، ربنا يرحمهم الجالية السودانية في بشمال كاليفورنيا لتنظيم هذه المحفل العجيب. أنا سلام محمد عبد الرحمن، مولود في منطقة تبع شمال الفاشل اسمها أبو سكين في شرق كتب. والبعدين مع المعاناة بلد من 2002 مع بداية زيارات متكررة للسفاح الإسلام محمد طه لمناطق شمال دارفور بغرض تجيش قبائل معينة ضد هجوم لقبائل أخرى، وده انتهت بالنهاية بتقسيم أهلنا في دارفور العرب والزرقاء. وأنا من ضمن الناس اللي كنا من الناس اللي صنفونا كزرقاء. وفي الزيارة دي أنا اسمه محمد طه فتح لعسكرات بتاعت التدريب لقوات الدفاع الشعبي وقوات الاحتياط المركزي لقبائل معينة كهجوم بعض القبائل، ويأخذ بدايتنا مع المعاناة والهجوم من 2002 إلى 2007. أهلنا كانوا سامجين كالجبال، كل يوم يموت مننا 2 3 4 5، وأهلنا سامرين إلى 2007 شهر 11 كانت الهجوم الأكبر هجمونا بطائرات والجيش وسيارات بتاعت الجيش. عشان كده أنا ليا والليلة ما بثق في الجيش نهائي، لأنه أنا زول ضربني الجيش ضربني بعدك الجنوبيين يكون ورا عملية كسارة. هجمونا في شهر 12 وأهلنا هون كنا مواطنين وحتى قدر سلاحة إنه قادروا عشان نحن ما نموت الشفة وما يقتسم النساء، لكن في النهاية ما في مخرج، لأنه نحن هجمنا الحكومة وحرك منطقتنا وشرد أهلنا، وأنه هم بقول لأنه في البداية جردونا من المال في البداية، لأن الإنسان بدون مال لا يسوى شيء. بعد التجريد من المال جردونا من الأرض، لأنه وحيدوا بالجواب بحق التمني، لأنه شالوا منها حق التمني كان خلاص لأنه كإنسان بدون رأس وكرين في النهاية يموت. خلاص نزلنا مشينا الجبل من منطقتنا كمنطقة جبلية. مشينا الجبل، بعد ما مشينا الجبل ما في طريقة، لأنه ما في طريقة نرجع ورانا المحل البعبين وهربوا. حاولنا نشوفوا حلول، ما في طريقة إلا نمشي، ننزل نخش المدينة، قد يكون مكان آمن لنا ولأهلنا. حاولنا نخش الفاشل ورسل لنا رجال المنظمات إنه شجعنا التحقيق، لكن الحكومة إنه يعرفوا منظمة تعمل فوق في الجبل، لأنهم خايفين إنه يكون الحكومة دي متورطة في حاجات في شأن بعدين قد يكون يجيب له إدانة. لكن أهلنا يتعانوا لما مشينا الفاشل، وفي هذا اللحظة يعني مساحة منطقتنا في الفاشل قد يكون 80 بيت. ال 80 بيت ده أنا ماشي قريب من منطقتنا للفاشل، وشايل أخوي في ظهري لأنه أخواني اثنين صغار والدتي شايلة أخوي واحد وأنا شايل أخوي في ظهري لأنه سكان ما بقدر أمشي لمسافة تلقى 60 متر كان في الزمان كالدكتور أو لا إجلاء بعد ذلك هنا لكن ده كان كنت عمري 14 سنة هنا خلاص ناس كبار أكبر نتحمل تمينا المسافة كلها بكورينا لكن الناس في النسوان العجزة ولا الناس ما قادرين بينهم عندهم سيارات بكوارث عشان يحسنوا المدينة. قبال الحصر في السنة قبال نخش المدينة في البوابة وسكون هناك في البوابة انتوا جايين من الجنوب وانتم متوردين وحكم متوردين وتحقيق وما تخشوا كذا ولازم ترجعوكم كعودة طريقة لكن بعد شيء ما في طريقة الحمد لله ما في طريقة مناطق يتحرك وتكون الناس لسه تقول ترجينا انت كتبت دائما طريقة نرجع نحن مشيين وخشينا في طرف المدينة وخطونا في كامب كبير الأسر كله الرجال فصلهم من الاتجاه والنساء فصلهم من الجالية من الاتجاه عشان يعملوا تحقيق. المنظمات تعمل تحقيق الحكومة تمنع إنه ما تعمل تحقيق وزي أحسي الفيديو اللي انتو شاهدتوه هنا أنا سكنت في محلات زي هنا معسكر النازحين ومعسكر هسه معسكر على ساكن معسكر اسمه معسكر السلام معسكر السلام هو أبو شمال الفاجر ودي قصتي معنا وجوا في المعسكر أبدأ نواجه مشاكل كثير مشاكل بتاعت المضايقات من 2007 لحد الآن أحلنا بعان من المضايقات وعدم الانتظار غير الكافي أو عدم المعونة. كان في منظمات الأمن برضه حكومة مشان منهم ما يقوم الناس. لذلك أنا بشوف يعني ده الحسن لكن المشكلة ممكن تتصلح لكن ما بالسهل. الحرب ممكن تجيب لكن ما بالسهل. الحرب ده لأنه أنا يوم الليل منطقتي عند الزخمين منه ساكنين فوق ناس تاني ناس جود كوافقين جدد سكنوا في منطقتي بنوا بنوا صايد حكومة سدد لهم مدارس وكذا. الناس دي يعمل لهم شنو؟ عشان يقوموا هنا. والناس عندهم سلاح عندهم ميليشيات عاملين سلاح. الميليشيات دي لو ما عملوا منهم السلاح لو ما شالوا منهم السلاح ما في سبب. لأنه زي ما حدث قبل 4-5 أسابيع أنا كنت هنا أخذ السلاح في الميليشيات قابل الحكومة. لذلك أنا بشوف إنه السلام تتم على أرض الواقع ما يعني مفادات تريد يعني ما بتجي نتيجة زي أرض الواقع. إنه السلاح في الميليشيات دي لازم يشيلوه مشان الناس تقدر ترجع لمناطقها كعودة طبيعية. لكن لو ما شلت السلاح من الميليشيات ما في تغيير في السلام. طيب برضه أنا كإنسان يعني ناجي من معسكرة الإبادة الجماعية برضه وأهلي ماتوا وأخواني ماتوا وأقرب للزول المشرك أبوي مات في العملية بتاعت الإبادة دي. الناس اللي عينوا لازم يتسلموا لمحكمة الجنايات. لو ما يستلم عشان يشفي لي غيريانا وغير غيري لأنه لو تحاكم حكم عادي الناس ممكن ضميرها ترتاح. لكن لو ما تحاكم حكم عادل برضه يكون محتوى حاجز لعملية السلام والتنمية. برضه في مشكلة بتاعت الأراضي والعواقب. المشكلة دي برضه لو ما تتحل بالطريقة الصحيحة المتعارف عليها من الزمان برضه دي مشكلة عائق لعملية السلام، لأنه أنا في محل المنطقة مولود ومربي فيه شارع ولو في المناطق ممكن الشارع أجزاء منه لكن ما عندك إدارة جدا، لأنه زوج جاء يجيش يسكن أخذ الإدارة بتاعت المنطقة، أنت تمشي تزرع يشيل منك حاجة اسمها الدعم. نعم ماشي، الزوج يجي بسلاحه وسيارة والسيارة مربوط فوق سلاح دوشته وأوجه يشيل منك الدعم، يقول لك بتاعت المناطق المحررة، حررت من دي برضه المشكلة دي وما تتحل برضه السلام ما لأنه أنا الزول يعني أنا بشوف الحاجة الشغل لازم يتم على الأدوات وما تمت الأدوات ما بسلام. المباراة تقول في النهاية كبر الأدوات، يعني هسي ممكن يعني في الفترة دي ممكن الحكومة تشيل السلاح بتاعت الميليشيات وزي قوات بتاعت الدعم السريع ممكن يتولي مع الجيش، وما يتولي مع الجيش برضه مشكلة كبيرة، والجيش دائما كمان يكون من عقيدة مختلفة من العقيدة بتاعت الجيش السريع. وفي النهاية ما لا أطول عليكم لأنه في الزمن دائما، ونقول لكم شكرا. زي ما قال يقول اليوم زي ما قال إلى أن تتوقف عشان الحاكم زي كان رجولا. شكرا جزيلا.
أنا زمني انتهى، يعني افترض كنت أدي فرص للناس، أنا محصور بزمن. أنا أشكر المتحدثين وحيوم